Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome again back to the live studios of Radio Apni Awaz, and we're with our chief reporter Abdul Jabbar Saab. He's obviously quite experienced and he's done a lot of stuff. He's been with all sorts of uh, media groups. Obviously, media groups. You've been, what do you call it? So it's quite important to mention that obviously you've got a vast experience, and the reason why me and you can easily talk about these topics is because obviously we've got a lot of background research, and hopefully we need to also mention sometimes people can make mistakes live on air, and especially with regard to the Islamic history that we're talking about. So if there's any mistakes, we'll ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, and nobody else. Right. Anyway, without further ado, we need to probably return to this, topic of the illegal war on Iran, where, they've tried to do something similar what they did in Venezuela. And they are now saying, for example, in Venezuela, the leader there, I forgot her name, she is cooperating, they are working together. I don't know. So basically, they've been bullied into that, but they couldn't bully Iran. Why do you think that is?
The reason, the reason I think why they were trying to bully and to get Iran to sign a deal so that they can inspect the nuclear facilities. If you go back, because Iran knows, because during the Obama period, they did do a deal with Iran. Iran did a deal in Obama's era. And this was broken by when Trump came into power. And then now, so what happened now is, look, Trump says, we want a deal, So why should Iran trust the Americans to do a deal which they will stick by?
So I think twice, Oman has been involved in those negotiations. Twice they failed.
No, so Obama's era, they did do a deal.
Yeah, and Trump ripped it up.
And after that, they didn't do a deal.
But twice they tried to go into negotiations, but twice they failed.
This time they tried, but what were they asking for? They were asking too much from Iran. They were saying we're going to come because of protests. First they said protests, then they said deal, then they said we're going to invade you. We're going to threats were given. At the same time they were talking, they was bringing their ships closer and closer to Iran. Their weaponry was being set.
So it's pre-planned.
No,
I think Israel was pretty obvious. Israel saying attack.
Yeah. And the attack they did. Obviously, the Israelis made it worse for them.
And obviously, I think they call it a 12-day war of Iran.
6-day war.
6 days, sorry. 6-day war. I think they kind of backtracked then. But, they kept going. I think this is probably due to the lobbyists pumping. I think there's a report where Donald Trump himself says $250 million are being given to him by a pro-Zionist individual, right? So, and this particular person, Lindsey Graham, that we mentioned, who is saying flatten Palestine, this particular individual has been, getting loads of funds from these pro-Zionist organizations, right? So, we've seen that, and what we're seeing now is, something that I haven't seen personally before, where there was Russian sanctions.
Yeah.
Right? So there were sanctions on Russia for loads of things.
Yeah.
But Russia is probably benefiting the most from this war. They're saying they're making $150 million more every day now than before this war. So why is that?
Because Trump unilaterally lifted the sanctions on Russian oil without consulting, and obviously he actually upset the Europeans and Ukraine war. So this might work against him, against the Ukrainians, because they'll with that money they will buy more weapons, produce more weapons, and attack Ukraine and take over.
And the other side question is, Russia is supposed to be an ally of Iran. So will they be helping Iran?
Yeah, they'll obviously they are gonna help. They're gonna, because they've been been trading, and also they worked on so many other
So
things.
I think they can. There are land routes from Russia to Iran, and obviously there's reports that China is helping Iran as well via Pakistan. So
Yeah.
when we mention Pakistan, see that Pakistan's playing like a double game or a triple game. Like,
Yeah.
what's the sketch with that?
So the issue is, right, that all these what's happening. To understand this, it's a bit like complicated. Like the relationships with each nation, they've all got their own national interests. Whereas what we see, right, is with all these countries, they're seeking to dominate and to benefit from this. Like now, America is calling for help from Britain, from China even,
Yeah.
to open and help the supply in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, I think I need to mention regarding Trump initially said we don't need UK's help, and he said all sorts of things. But
Yeah.
now he's changed his mind. He's saying he does need UK's help. He needs France's help. France has said, by the way, said no. We
Yeah.
are not going to send any warships to the Strait of Hormuz. We also need to mention about Spain. They've kicked out the Israeli ambassador.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. We need to
Actually,
need to do a full program on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
look at the uselessness of
Yes.
some of the Middle Eastern countries,
Yeah.
and look at what countries like Spain is doing. I know, for example, Ireland has been outspoken, but Iran has said to the Middle Eastern nations to kick out the ambassadors of Israel.
Yeah.
Right? They've made some demands. Obviously, get rid of the air bases. In the long run, that's probably benefit for the Muslim nations.
Yeah. So all these, obviously there's political actions that are being taken, and there's also obviously you got to look at the military actions that are being taken. So on the side of the military actions, there is political actions that are being taken, such as what Spain's doing with Spain by kicking out the Israeli ambassador. I just want
They're
to,
calling it genocide openly.
yeah.
And some of the Arab nations did call it a genocide.
The thing is, even if you mention the issue of apartheid state, you're seen to be what do you call it? You're seen to be genocidal. And
I think that's the lobbyists in the UK. In the US, they're ruling the show. But in the UK, probably slightly less so. But in via the US, the Middle East is on chokehold. They can't say anything, which we need to mention.
Yeah.
For some reason they can't. Even though they have close relations,
yeah.
blood probably relations as well with the Palestinians, and they couldn't give a damn. Never mind the Muslim Ummah, if they believe in the Muslim Ummah, or if they, they have that kind of integrity. But I'm always like shocked, with this. Especially
Look at what this. Trump said. So he says at some point, I don't think there will be anybody left, maybe to say we surrender. This is what Trump said. If this is not a genocidal statement, then what would be?
No, it's obviously we need to once again mention that this is an illegal, unprovoked. Iran has had to respond. It's a legal war, and everybody knows it. And unfortunately, when you have superpowers, they decide on what to do. But the sad thing is, we always mention the countries in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, including United Arab Emirates, they should do more for their blood relatives. So we
If
say.
you look at history, for the Western colonial powers, there are Western European origin white races, and the rest are just savages
Mm.
whose lives for the colonialists are not worth a dime. When the government of Israel is merely called an apartheid regime, they are declared as genocidal. Trump and his courtiers are openly talking about discriminately killing discriminately all of Iran's population of 93 million, and no one is showing any remorse. Such is the nature of the
I think
hypocritical liberal West.
they're doing this openly, and they're not hiding this.
Yeah.
And the Pete Hegseth, what you call, who everybody knows, basically from the US. Is he? I think is he the defense minister or is the war
Who, sorry?
department? Pete Hegseth, the guy who has, believe it or not, what you call, he's got Crusader tattoos on his arms and body, and he's also got he's calling himself a kafir in the Arabic writing. He's got kafir written on his, I think, arm.
Yeah, he's basically
and
said-
these people are openly. This is like calling out for war, and obviously we need to be specific. These people are extremists, and not all Christians.
Yeah.
I think like that. Which we've seen from throughout America and Europe, but this particular individuals are pro-Zionists.
I mean,
and they sometimes they want the end of times to begin, and they want to get rid of Masjid al-Aqsa and the holy sites. They want to obliterate for them to achieve the third temple. They're openly saying this.
Yeah.
And we've seen some restraint from the Muslim communities, but obviously, but we're not seeing it from other Muslim countries who were formerly part of ISIS, which includes Syria and even Afghanistan. Sometimes it's surprising to see, why they're so quiet.
I mean, he's mentioned, obviously, he made a very, very anti-Islamic or against our Prophet ﷺ, where he said, we can't allow Iran or a country to have nuclear weapons who is, words to the effect. He said, anyone who has Islamic prophetic delusions. I'm just trying to remember. So words to that effect. So he doesn't want to allow an Islamic form of government to have weapons or an army or nukes. And this is in Muslim country. So they're not bothered. They're not talking about in America or Europe. They're talking about Iran. They're talking about Pakistan or any Muslim country. They don't want it, even though those countries are part of the international world order. So even though they are sitting side by side with them, they still won't accept you.
Yeah, I think we're going to move on now with the particular island where the port, Hajj Island, where for some reason it wasn't targeted. Apparently it was to do with not saying the Chinese, because China is finding it difficult to get oil, and obviously we know in the UK the oil prices have increased massively. It's having an effect in the UK, and we do know there's loads of other stuff going on. But if you can just sum up, this Iran war, I think probably next week probably might be talking about the same topic. But obviously the death toll would have increased. If you can just sum it up, what's happening? Do you see an end anytime soon?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yeah. So when you start a war and you want to do it for 10 days, or you don't have any reason for it, and the only reason is for your own ends, and you're colonizing. You've got colonization in your history. The only way to deal with what we're seeing is, attack on Muslim lands and countries. And until we have an ideological alternative to these capitalism, and we've seen that because for 100 years, we've seen without the Muslim unity, these nations, these countries will invade and will attack. So obviously my final message is, which is that the Muslim unity, Muslim countries unifying politically, not necessarily from, they can keep their schools of thought and unite politically, and this is what will happen this is what we see in the 13 years of history of Islamic Caliphate, which existed for 1300 years and was one of the best civilizations that ever existed.
Yeah, so I think things are now looking great, and I think Iran is one of those last countries, even Pakistan as well, where if they're defeated, it would be a problem, and we don't want another Iraq, we don't want mass casualties, and without further ado, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and hopefully we will see you sometime soon. Take care.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.